All right, let's start. Bonjour, another day, another cafe. So today we're going to talk about the difference between modern cafes and traditional cafes in Paris. I feel like there's such a variety of different cafes in Paris, and it's really interesting to compare the two. So right now, as you can tell from the videos here, that we're in a modern cafe, and they're actually being implemented more and more in Paris. Like we see a lot of these really new chains like Noir Cafe, and like this one I'm currently in is called Copain Le Studio Paris X, and it kind of really brings like a difference in the type of cafes that are happening in Paris. Like it's kind of reintroducing like the concept of cafes, because as we know, Paris I think is one of the top cities with the most amount of cafes possible. I will write how many down here. And it's just really interesting to see that there's a lot of change and evolvement in the cafe culture, in the cafe world. And I'm spending so much time here, so it's really interesting to see all the changes happening. So I think the first thing we notice in really modern cafes is that there's like this really big bar counter, and in normal like traditional French Parisian cafes it's more like there are terraces, tables outside, and inside you can tell I'm in a cafe, and inside it's like a lot of small tables. And the modern ones, it's very spacious, kind of has this industrial look with either like cement or with tiles, kind of giving this industrial like working vibe. And it's very interesting because before this I was in Shanghai, another very cafe savvy city in the world, and there was also this type of cafes. There's actually only this type of cafes, and here in Paris it's relatively new. So first thing we notice is like a lot of spacious, the walls, and it's very modern. And also we can tell that there's a lot of choice. Like for example, even in the cafes that you can pick which type of coffee is in your coffee. Like there are 4 types. They have one that is more chocolatey. They have one that is more fruity. And in normal traditional cafes in France, you don't pick what type of coffee you can order in your drink. And a lot of the times there's also like mirrors, and there's like a lot of different types of food options. For example, in this cafe that I'm in, everything is gluten-free, which, in normal cafes in Paris, it would not be the case. And as well as the food, there's also a lot of like trendy drinks. So the coffee itself has so many types. Like for example, right now I'm drinking like a latte rose coffee derived from rose. There's golden derived from turmeric. There's lavender, which I'd never heard of a lavender latte. So I guess there's a lot of like unique options which you cannot find in traditional simple cafes in Paris. So as well as there being like lots of different options in the drinks, there's also additional stuff you can add to it that is super unique. Like for example, here you can add like protein to your drink, or you can add collagen. Collagen like helps firm your skin. It's super interesting that you can put this in your drink. And they even have another one, which I even wrote down. It's called hyaluronic, and apparently it's something that's also related to your skin, and going from winter to summer you have to keep it hydrated. So yeah, really interesting. And you can also tell that the people who come to these sort of cafes, they're really different than the people who come into like traditional ones. Like in traditional it's much more mixed, and here it's like more like high upper scale, more trendy people. Yeah, I feel like the trendy cafes have a lot more options. Like for example, there's a juice bar, and of course there's like Wi-Fi, and there's even sometimes charging boxes as well in cafes, in modern cafes. But in traditional ones you don't have all these options. It's really like a blend. Like with the big differences I would say between trendy and traditional are the trendy design, the specialty in coffees and teas, the diverse menu with international influences. Like we have a lot of American influences, Asian influences in the drinks, and all the extra stuff, all the extra options. Like there's even merch in modern cafes, which you cannot find in traditional. So I really enjoy both. I would say I love traditional cafes because there's a more classic Parisian ambiance, and there's like classic French pastries and foods, and it's more like a relaxed atmosphere. While like for modern ones, it's more like trendy upscale. You want to have something quick as well. And in traditional cafes in Paris, you take your time, you enjoy more. So I would say to try both out if ever you're in Paris. And let me know in the comments, what do you think is better? Would you go more to a traditional cafe or would you go more to a modern cafe? Let me know. Merci beaucoup. À bientôt et à demain.